Merchandising.
Rick, after sitting Kyle and Mark, what did you see from them as a response? And maybe more importantly, what do you want to see more from them?
No, they had a good response in the third period. Actually, it wasn't going to be that long. They only missed half the second period. I was going to go to the 6-minute mark at that timeout and go back to them. But the other three lines were playing so well, I just decided to let it go. So was the original plan to let them sit there the whole period? Absolutely not. But I was just going to get to that 6-minute timeout and then get them back out there. But the other three lines gave us a lot of momentum, so I just let it go. But it did go longer than I thought it would.
And what do you expect more from them going forward then?
Listen, they're great players. They're going to carry us into the playoffs. So we need them playing like they can. Some nights it just doesn't go your way. It's as simple as that. It's just no different than a golfer shoots 62 one day and 76 the next day. Some nights it's not your night. So you just take a quick breather and regroup. And they had a good third period.
Accountability was a real talking point going into this season. Post-game, when they don't want to do an interview, how does that play with you?
I'm sorry, it was
post-game when the two guys like that don't want to talk to the media about it. How does that play with you?
They're grown men. They're professionals. They deal with it. They're not little kids. You can't guide them around every little bit. They make decisions on their own. I met with them all, the two of them, the three of them this morning, and we move on and get ready for Boston. That's what we do.
Is it any harder or maybe more of a minefield possibly to bench star players or take away ice time from star players compared to...
Yeah, I wouldn't say they were benched. We took a couple of shifts away from them, right? So if they were benched, they wouldn't have played the rest of the game. They weren't benched. I took a couple of shifts away from them, yeah. So, they're proud guys, and I know they're proud. They're very proud guys, and you know you're going to get they're not going to hang their heads and sulk, is what I'm. Some guys will miss a couple of shifts, and it bothers them. I knew those two would respond, and
And so I'm going to ask you to spell it out. It's probably obvious, but sometimes it's best just to hear it from the coach or the philosophy. But what message, Kyle said there's a message received from that. What message do you need them to take away from that action?
Clearly things weren't going their way that night. So the message is regroup on the bench and be ready to go next time your name is called, which they were in the third period. So when you're sitting there, you're mad, you're not playing, I get it. That's all part of it. But the message is, okay, clearly we got to pick this up a little bit, and we got to respond, and we got a better response in the third. So like I said, they're pros, they're men, they have a lot of pride, and again, the top guys carry your team into the playoffs. That's what the top guy's job is, to carry us into the playoffs, and we're confident that they will do that.
Just to piggyback off Paul's question about accountability, just the sense of being a big thing at the beginning of the year, when something like this happens, I mean, whether it's a benching or just sitting for half a period or whatnot, the media tends to call it an accountability issue, but we're not in the locker room. We don't know how everyone's holding each other accountable. How have you felt this accountability level of accountability has been during this tougher stretch of hockey versus what was a pretty, I'll say easy, but
I have nothing to compare it to from last year.
You can compare it within this year.
This year's been good.
Yeah.
I hear voices in the room. I hear voices on the bench that I didn't hear before. So, there's a lot of times we close the doors and they wanted the room, and it's their room. They got it. So we don't hear a lot of it. We're far enough away, especially between periods in a lot of these rinks, we're so far away from the locker room, especially in Carolina. We have no idea what they're talking about in there because we're too far. We're not hanging out the door. Listen, we're not doing that. We're getting ready to make some adjustments and get ready for the next period. So whatever, there's a lot of times that the doors are closed for them, and that's their room. So
I know you've liked your game even before this road trip. You got the results over the road trip. Just Boston again tonight. Do you feel that the heavy or stiff competition you're facing is kind of helped you get back into that structure, get back into playing responsible, just given the margin of errors?
Well, if you look at the 6 games, I mean, like 2 of the best games were San Jose, where we gave up absolutely nothing. We couldn't score. Minnesota, where we dominated for 60 minutes and didn't even get a point there. So, but the Florida game, if you look at that, it was probably the loosest of the 3 games. We probably gave up too many opportunities, but we capitalized on ours. We talk a lot about timely goals, and we did that. The Tampa game was a very hard-fought game. Both teams, listen, we missed 4 breakaways in the third period. So I know it's 3-2, and they hit a couple of posts. We had 4 breakaways in the third period alone. So we're very happy with that game. And the game in Carolina was probably the best game of the 3 games on the road. We limited their chances. We limited their time in our zone. We spent we cut the time in our zone in half from the Florida game and the Tampa game. We did a better job breaking out, and we had some good opportunities. We outchanced them. We outplayed them. We just didn't get rewarded. So that's hockey, man. It's how you play the game. And if you play the game properly enough and take care of the process long enough, it's got to even out.
You mentioned that you liked the response in the third period against Carolina. That was with them not playing together as a unit. It looked from the morning skate like you'll continue on from the third period in Carolina and tonight.
No.
At least starting. No. Okay.
No, Doobie's out. Doobie's not going to play. So we're going back to the lines that we started in Carolina. It'll be Casey, Mark, and Nino, and we put Nick back with Vladdy and Wheels. So we're back to that.
Okay.
Mo will play. Doobie won't.
And one instance that happened in the Carolina game, that where Dylan Sandberg hits Martinook early in the second period, the referees let the play go on. I just wondered, I don't know if there's been any kind of a directive or if it's just, the official saying we don't need a fight here that is kind of needless, so play on. Do you think that will encourage teams down the road to settle it up later but not instantaneously?
When you used to get hit like that, your own teammates would get after you for keeping your head down, right? They wouldn't even go after that. Like, hey, that's on you. Keep your head up. And you don't get hit like that, which is true. We never want to take those clean hits out of our league. Never. Those are good, clean, hard hits. And the guy that delivers it shouldn't have to fight every time he throws a clean hit. Now, there's an instigator rule that we put in the 70s. It wasn't for that. And I know why they put it in. But if somebody wants to go stick up for his teammates, I'm all for that. But if he has nothing to do with the play, then call the instigator. But if you listen, if you think a guy went overboard and took a cheap run at your play and it wasn't a penalized, you want to step in and stick up for your teammate, I'm all for that. I mean, that's not an issue for me. But we can't fight every time we throw a clean hit in this league. It's just not right. That's part of hockey. And so yeah, that was a clean hit. The scrum's going on. One guy kept his senses, and Mel went down and scored. We just showed that. Like we always talk to our players, it's whistle to whistle. Play hard, whistle until you hear that whistle. And if you don't hear that whistle, you keep playing hard no matter what. You see lots of, that was offside, and they stop playing. Well, there's no whistle. Keep playing. And there's a perfect example of whistle to whistle. Keep going. And Mel had his senses about him and went down and got a beautiful goal.
Rick, as an opposing coach, what do you appreciate about Patrice Bergeron's game?
Oh, man. It's just how long he's played and at a high level. I'll tell you a story. So that year of the lockout in 04-05, and I was with the Coyotes, we did some scouting. I went to the American League a couple of times to do some scouting. The year before, Patrice had played the whole year in Boston, and he went to Providence that year. And I saw him probably play 5 games. In all 5 games, he was the best player on the ice. So that tells you about his character. A lot of guys would play a year in the National Hockey League as a 19-year-old and then go to the minors and not be happy about it. Every game, he was the best player on the ice. So that told me all I need to know about his character. But then when you watch him play the game, my God, his hockey IQ, his compete level, game in and game out over all this time is just very, very impressive. It goes back to his character. This guy is a wonderful person, wonderful leader, and one heck of a hockey player. And he'll be in the Hall of Fame for sure.
Just a quick one. What can you tell us about Sam Gagner's absence?
Sam Gagner had some hip issues over the last little while, and he's elected to have some surgery, so he's out. The hips have been bothering him, so he had an operation on one the other day, and I think he's going to have another one in 2 weeks once that one settles down.
Okay, so done for the year?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Sorry, just I wanted to keep you, just because of that line you used about DeMello keeping his senses. I think your team has shown that they've benefited over the last little while from situations like this. The Oilers game where Nurse went after Menelainen is another example of your team keeping their senses and benefiting from it in game. It's almost, from the GM meetings, it sounds like it's the model that the league is trying to follow. Why is your team in such a good position to be the team that is benefiting from this because they keep their senses?
Well, we talk a lot about initiate, don't retaliate, right? Just be initiate. We want to be first there. We want to be in there. But most penalties are called, other than the obvious, the tripping and hooking. There's a lot of retaliation penalties that hurts your team. So we talk a lot about, we want to stay aggressive. Yeah, we want to be on top of them. And we want to initiate, but we don't want to retaliate.